think I said the mic was on. I don't know if it was or not right then. But anyway, we appreciate Brother Joe, our prayer. Thank you very much for that. What we're going to be doing, we're in the process of changing. We finished the books of Peter. We're going to go now to the 1st and 2nd Corinthians is what we're going to do. And I don't know how much you've ever looked at those books or not, especially the first book or letter to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians. It's a lot goes on with them. But as you can see here, we're going to be doing this. And what I'd like to show you on it as we get started is this right here. This right here, if you notice the kind of, I don't know if that's a light gold or what color that is, but all this from up here all the way down to here. Now, I don't know about out in here. Those islands, I don't know if they are part of Greece or not, but this is the area of the world known as Greece. And it's still a very important place as far as Bible and things about the Bible. An awful lot of things occurred in this area. And what we have here, as far as the capital of Greece, is right there, Athens. That in ancient times, that is where the Greek mythology, the Greek gods and so forth like that, where the Olympics started, was in Athens. And there was just a few things, they did it similar to what is done today in the fact that a group of people would come together and they would actually have different competitions, is what they would have. Down here is the city of Corinth, is where we're going to be looking at. And there is another set of games we'll talk about. I don't know if we'll get to them today or not, but we'll see. But their games was not only about athletics, but also about music and so forth like that. So I guess it was just a time that people would get together and I guess party, if it might be a good time or things like that, because this area of the world was very carnal, might be a good word to say, as far as humans are concerned. They were known for some very bad things that humans were doing, and so we'll talk about those a little bit more. But, okay. Mr. David? Okay. That's to keep you awake, in case you don't know. That's what that was about. Anyway, I better get going pretty quick then. But anyway, I don't know about all these towns now, or cities that they are. Now, right up here is Thessalonica, is what you'll see. Over here is the country of Turkey, Mediterranean Sea, the island of Crete. Down here somewhere is Africa. Over in there somewhere is where the Middle East and Israel and so forth like that would be today. That's where it would be. I don't know if you ever realized, but the country of Turkey has been a country quite often about Bible, about stuff about the Bible and so forth like that. And if that's the best we're going to have now, I guess we won't do any more of that. We'll see. As far as I know, mine's okay. I guess if somebody might go try to find Nathan, I don't know. But anyway, let me just go ahead and, man, I wish I could show you. There we go. I hope it stays good. I'd like to mention, first of all, a few things about the modern country of Greece and where we're going to be looking at. We're going to actually be spending quite a bit of our time right there at Corinth. And this is where Paul comes. He's going to spend a year and a half there, is what he's going to do. But right there is where we're going to be. Now, let me show you this picture. If you can look at this picture. Now, this is a picture of the earth, is what it is. And if you remember, this area right in here, since it's not zoomed in, this is the area, and over in here is Corinth. And you may notice right here is a line that goes through. A line that goes through. Well, that line, if you could have taken a picture of this area in 1880, that line was not there. That line is not there until 1893. What it is this. It is a passage. It is a passage for boats to go through. Now, the reason for that is this. And I don't have, let me go back. Let me show you this. Over here, to trade goods from this part of the world to that part of the world, the safest way to go for boats in their even pre-first century, in the BC years and all, were to come and go right through here to Corinth, and while it was still solid dirt, they would have to unload their ships on this side, and then they would go about 4 miles. They had to carry the goods 4 miles over to this side. So what it is, it would come from this side and over. This is a 4-mile stretch, and it would come to right here. Large ships, whatever their large ships were, would come to this side and carry a lot of goods, and then they would start loading up either animals. They did come up with a way, I think, to load boats over there, and some mechanism they had to pull them over to the other side. I'm not sure. I think that's how I read that. But they would come and then bring them to there. Then, go back one. So they could bring their goods in here, take them off, and come and put them back on boats here, and then go over to Crete, over to the Middle East, Israel and so forth like that, Turkey and all these other countries. That point, a 4-mile stretch, separated basically two worlds. It was very dangerous to come this way, because with the Mediterranean Sea, I'm guessing the sea and the ocean and the waves and winds and all were too dangerous to come this way. And so they came there. Well, that made Corinth a port city on two ports, on two places. They were a port city for this side and a port city for there. And so any goods that would go from one part of the world to the other basically came across that 4-mile stretch. And so you can imagine the wealth. As money is made, quite often education gets better, people, so forth, is drawn. It was estimated that about 300,000 people lived in that area, whatever size the area that it was that they were living in. So it became a very important place, is what it did. It is in the country of Greece. In the country of Greece is where it is. And so we have that. Well, in 1882, I believe it was, I think we might see it a little bit later, but it was somewhere in 1882 to 1893, they were building. They literally went and dug this out. I did not remember to check the depth. The one thing I did check, from that corner, that wall, to that wall is 70 feet. 70 feet is what that is. 4 miles long, 70 feet. Looking at this on my computer, it looks like scrape marks where ships today might have scraped trying to go through there, because you never know what's going to go through. Now, that's not a big cruise ship, trust me. I've been fortunate enough to be on a big one. It's more than 70 feet across. All righty? It may be several hundred feet across. But what you have here, they were able to do this. This in our world, I know you hear the term game changer. We hear that, something that occurs, that whatever area it's in, it really changes it. And so that's what happened here. Can you imagine in 1893, then they did not have to carry, and they had been doing it for almost 2,000 years. From before Jesus, over 2,000 years, they were carrying it from one port by land to the other one, and then they did this. That's what they did. So not only did it speed that up, it made it even that much more important of a city, a culture, a group of people that could influence others is what it could do. It was an attractor of people to get more people to come to their city and so forth like that. So here is actually a bridge today across that. Now, again, what it does, let me just zip back just for a moment while this thing is still on. What that does right there, not only does it allow trade from this side, the Ion Sea, to the Aegean Sea to go and occur, but it also, that area where the land is, that allows, this is an island. This part of Greece is an island, except for right there. It's not really an island because, well, I guess in a sense it is now because they cut it in two. So technically that could be an island, but this whole area is part of the country of Greece, and all up through there is the Greece country. Now here is Mount Olympus. You may have heard of that before. It's about 6,000 or 7,000 feet high. There is a mountain we'll see a picture of shortly at Corinth too, but not near that high. So there we are. So if you were to look or hear about that canal, it's the Corinth Canal, is what it's called today. And so it is, and it's used, as we see, by different means, is what it is there. And again, here, now they have come in and put some bridges over that. Don't know if you know this or not, but this past summer, sometime in there, our family, the farmers, Don and his family, they have a walkway across from one side to the next. Now, I don't know if it's actually a road too, and you know how a bridge can have a walkway for people. I don't know if it's that way or not. But they were standing, Don and his son were standing, and I saw a picture. I tried to find it on Facebook yesterday, but I couldn't find it. But they actually went over there this past summer and saw this very canal. So that is some things that I want to let you know about that, about the modern part. But now let's look at what we want to do about some facts about the city of Corinth and their time and so forth like that. Now, I hope this print is large enough for you to read if you'd like to read this, but Corinth, because it's, as we can see, how important it became as a trade center. Probably one of the most important trade centers in the known world at that time is what it was. And it was, and again, it was a Greek city. Greeks, again, remember, their religious background was not the Old Testament. It was mythology. It was Greek gods, Olympus, and so forth like that. A lot of the other gods and so forth like that. And so that's what they are there. So it's known to be a very important Greek city in that day. Anytime you have a city of maybe 200,000 or 300,000, 400,000 people in that day, you can only imagine how important of a place it would have been. Now, in 146 B.C., now about 2000 B.C., somewhere in that neighborhood is when people first started kind of living in that general area. And so as the years went by, it progressed to where it was at 146. And it was totally destroyed by the Roman government at that time. But it was later reestablished, and we'll see that in just a moment. The Roman general, Lucius, have you say his name there, he destroyed the city and killed the male population and sold the women and children into slavery. He did this because of anti-Roman uprising of the city toward the Roman Empire. Sometime during that 146 BC, the people of Corinth here, they rebelled against the Romans because the Romans had, at that time, they were the ones that had taken over and controlled the known world at that time. You know, several times the Byzantines and others, these large groups of people would over time take over the world, and so that's what the Romans had done. And so they had done that. So for the time from 146 to 46, 100 years, the city basically laid in ruins, and there was probably there were some people that might live there, but as far as the Mecca of the city it was not that at that particular time. And if you notice here, in 46 BC, Julius Caesar, I know we've all heard that name before, and he rebuilt Corinth as a Roman colony and settled many free Romans there. Now, free Romans mean that they weren't slaves or they had to work for the other Roman people, that they could just go and be what would probably be known as regular Roman citizens is what they would be. Well, as it started to be built, sadly, you don't have nice cities that are 2,000 years old anymore. You don't see that. And so what happens too in these cities over time, no matter how pretty or how nice that they have been built, if nations decide to come in and try to take over areas like they did at times, then quite often you see some things being destroyed. This is a picture of some of the things that I'd like to show you that would have been something to see. Here, this right here is the temple for Apollos, the Greek god Apollos. There was 30 plus columns. There's 7 of them standing today. And you can only imagine how probably beautiful that place was. Here is an area, it looks like either houses, it was probably shops. It's probably shops where people had a business. Now, they may have lived there too, I don't know, and here's why. Right here on this picture is a road. One of the best roads, as far as an example of it, left from that time period. And over here is about a foot or two step up, and over here. So that would be what you and I would think of today as a sidewalk. So you would not be walking out in the street. You would have a walkway over there, and then you could come in and do business with the people there, the merchants. And so the merchants was making money. The city would be making money through taxes and so forth like that. And so you could only imagine what that place would have looked like in that particular time. Here is another picture of another view of the temple of Apollos. And I know it may not look like much today, but I don't know, that's 40, 50, 60 feet high, whatever they are. But you can see, now I really don't know what that is. I'm assuming that was a way to, there probably was a wall here and a wall there, and you could walk in. I just don't know. I have no idea. But if you notice, you can see some steps there. It looks like some other rooms might have been here. And so you can actually look online and see a lot of different pictures about that area. And so what I'm trying to get across to us is how important of a city that was, because Paul is going to go there. Now, you have to remember, this is going to be a very sinful city, a very, very sinful city. And so with that in mind, we'll be able to see the power of the gospel there. Now, one of the things, too, since it is a Greek city, Latin was whenever the Romans came in, they brought Latin in as the official language, and the Roman character of the city is reflected by the many Latin names in the New Testament. I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't realize this. Well, let's look at a couple examples. In Acts 18:7, and he departed from there and went into the house of a certain man named Titus Justus. Well, that right there is a Latin name there. A worshiper of God whose house was next to the synagogue. And then another one here in Romans 16:21 through 23. Timothy, my fellow workers, greet you, and so do Lucius and Jason, and I don't know how you say that one there, my kinsman. I, Tetras, who write this letter, greet you in the Lord. It was not unusual for Paul to have others to put his words down in writing. So this is an example of that, where he was allowed to give credit to himself as being the writer of the letter of Romans. Gaius, host to me, and the whole church greets you. Eurytus, the city treasurer, greets you, and Quartus, the brother. So you can see there, here, there, here, and down here, Latin names. And so you can see the influence of what a country that comes in and takes over another country can have, even in our Bible. Even though Rome controlled Corinth, the large makeup of the population was Greek people, as we know, and so the common everyday language was probably Greek language. Now, maybe when they got around where Roman soldiers, Roman citizens, Roman officers, and so forth, like that, they may had to try to learn to speak Latin. I don't know, but the Greek language was probably the common language at that time. The most recognizable landmark in Corinth was the Acrocorinth, a mountain to the south of the city, reaching a height of 1,886 feet. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of that just a minute, then we'll come back to this. There's the picture of that mountain back there. All right? Now, I'm not going to try to go back to the original map where it's a show, but it is to the south of the city, toward that big part I said of Greece that was actually an island now, that big bottom part. So, and that was because all of that area was oceanfront shipping. There was a city down at the very end of that part. But you can see here is the mountain. As a matter of fact, we're going to find out that a very sinful situation was built up there, and they allowed that to last. But here is the Apollos temple, what's left of it. There is actually a column laying right there. They used to be up here somewhere. And so anyway, there's what that is. I know these pictures don't do justice to what these places would have looked like, but maybe to give us an idea. But there was that place. Now, the thing about that is a perfect place for a fortress to control trade routes into the that word there. That word right there is, and we'll see. I'll show you where it is in a minute. But that's basically the lower island part that we saw. The bottom part of the country of Greece is what that is. And there's that. And here's another picture showing another example of the mountain. You can see it's like almost like two, but this is the highest point. And here again is very likely some people's homes. I'm not sure, but that might have been that. But you can see, it's amazing. Even today, it's not. If you kind of keep up with things that's getting dug up called archaeology, they're still finding many things, whether it's in the city of Jerusalem or out in places like this. More and more things from the people of ancient times are being found. Now, I mentioned that name. There's the name of this area right here. And there is a city right down here, a port city. So this here still was very important. So you wanted to control from that mountain that we just looked at, control the access to that part. And so that's what they did. And so you have that. So right over here was the city of Athens. I do not remember how many miles it is from there. I have no idea. It can't be too much. But then there's the city of Corinth. And remember, this is where Paul is going to be going. Now, Paul spent time in Athens. He also spent time in Corinth. Paul had 3 missionary journeys, and in those journeys, quite often, he would go to areas such as this right here. And again, that is where we can see God's wisdom in this, is that more people could be reached. Whether or not they would obey or not is one thing, but more people could be spoken to and taught in places with large populations. Now, if you remember the mountain I just showed you, that high point, and I've mentioned something about how it's something up there, the temple of Aphrodite, I guess that's how you say it, the goddess of love and beauty. Remember, this is Greek gods. They had a Greek god for the sun, for the water, for the air, for the stars, moon, and even for love and beauty, for things to grow. There would have been a Greek god about growing things, and they would worship them. But anyway, it says it was on the highest peak of that mountain that we saw. The 1,000 female prostitutes who served there contributed to Corinth's reputation for immorality. The prostitutes that lived at the temple were known as Corinthian girls, is what they were known as. It is evident that this situation continued into Paul's day, as we see in his letter to the Corinthians. That's one of the things that he had to deal with to try to teach against whenever he came to Corinth. So we can see there, again, it would the Greeks would have orgies, parties, and so forth like that in different places, and so they were more about themselves. Sex was involved an awful lot, and things such as that, and overindulgence in anything, whatever it might be, whether it was eating or things, drinking, whatever it may be. And so, of all places, to try to establish God's church, to be in a place such as that. So even though it was some beautiful stuff probably in its day, we have to remember why was it there? It was there basically to live in sin all the time. Now also, the Auditorium, or music hall, and a large theater was located on the northwest side of the city. So not only did they have places for prostitution and all like this, but of levels of education, entertainment, and so forth. The only reason I wanted to show you this is this. A reused paving block found near the theater bears the name of an Eratus, who was Commissioner of Public Works. That's what it is on that, I'm assuming either in Latin or Greek, on that piece, on that block. It may be associated with Paul, it may be an associate of Paul in the city of Corinth. Paul mentions this in Acts 19 and 22 and Romans 16 and 23. In Acts 19:22, it states this: "And having sent into Macedonia 2 of those who ministered to him, Timothy and Eratus," if that's how you say it, E-R-A-S-T-U-S, same name as up here that's on that block, right there. He himself stayed in Asia for a while. Then, in Romans 16 and 23, it reads this: "Gaius, host to me and to the whole church, greets you. Eratus, the city treasurer, greets you, and Quartus, the brother." Now, the city treasurer might be the same title as Commissioner of Public Works, or he may have gotten that job changed later. I don't know. But it's interesting to know that in Acts and Romans, the mentioning of a name that could be associated with a office, a fairly high office. Can you imagine being the commissioner of the public works for that whole place? That's a very important job. So it'd be really neat to know. We don't know for sure, but there is a possibility that this same man that was the commissioner of public works was also a Christian man. And so it'd be nice to know. Now, one other thing of interest might be, we mentioned earlier about Athens and the Olympic Games and Mount Olympus and so forth like that. There was also a set of games. There was 3 or 4 different sets of games in that part of the world. So undoubtedly that was a common thing. Again, it would have been to start off with, part of it would have been to start off with to entertain the people there, the rich people and so forth like that. But if you realize or remember, Paul does mention athletics in some of his letters about running the course, and I also talk about exercise and so forth like that. Those things do come up. This set of games is a festival of athletic and musical competitions in honor of the sea god Poseidon, held in the spring of the 2nd and 4th years of each Olympiad. At the Isthmus of Corinth is where it would be. So this, again, we have to remember the things that Paul is going to be dealing with. He's dealing with a world full of sin and false worship. So if you would remember that. I do have our 1st and 2nd chapter, our material out here. If you haven't gotten your copy, if you'd like to have it. And we appreciate everybody being here this morning, and we will finish up this next week. Thank you very much.